Ready for a deep dive. Today, we're going microscopic. Like, really small.
Smaller than you can even imagine.
We're talking cells. The building blocks of, well, everything alive.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
We'll be using excerpts from this human anatomy textbook, by the way.
Yeah.
Packed with visuals and all sorts of cool facts.
Should be a fun one.
So, what is a cell? Like, the simplest definition.
Basically, it's the smallest thing that can do all the stuff we call life. And get this, you can't break it down any further.
What do you mean?
Like, you take a cell apart, none of the pieces can survive on their own. It's the whole package deal that makes life happen.
That's interesting.
It's like a car engine. You need all the parts working together, or it's just junk.
Right. And that ties into, what, the cell theory?
Exactly. Cell theory says everything alive is made of cells, and new cells only come from existing ones.
So it cells all the way down, huh?
Pretty much. And speaking of down, most cells are way too small for us to see. Like, need a microscope tiny.
Though there's that one exception. The frog egg. I remember that from bio class.
Oh yeah, good one. A single cell you can actually see. But that's definitely not the norm.
So why so tiny? There's got to be a reason.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about efficiency, really.
Okay, I'm listening.
It comes down to the surface area to volume ratio. Imagine blowing up a balloon.
Okay, got it.
The volume inside gets big fast, but the surface, the balloon's skin, doesn't grow as quickly.
Same for cells.
Exactly. And cells, they need that surface area to exchange stuff with their surroundings, like nutrients in, waste out.
So more surface is better for that exchange.
Think of it like doors on a building. More doors, people can get in and out faster. Same with a cell needs that surface area to keep things moving.
And a giant cell, that'd be like trying to breathe through a straw.
Pretty much. Not very efficient. That's why they stay small. It works best. But here's the thing. Not all cells are built the same way.
Oh, different models.
Two main types. Prokaryotes, the simple ones, and eukaryotes, the more complex ones. Kind of like comparing a studio apartment to a whole city.
Okay, which one's the studio?
Prokaryotes. Think bacteria.
Yeah.
Smaller, simpler design. Their DNA just floats around, no nucleus. And they're missing a lot of the fancy internal parts that eukaryotes have.
Those would be what, like the organelles?
Exactly. They're like little organs within the cell, each with a specific job. Prokaryotes, they keep it simple, fewer compartments.
So the eukaryote is the bustling city then?
Yep. 10 to 100 times bigger. Got a nucleus to hold the DNA and tons of organelles doing their thing.
Sounds organized.
It is. And it's all thanks to membranes. They're like the walls and fences dividing the city into different zones.
It keeps things running smoothly.
Right. And, our human cells, those are eukaryotic. We're basically talking cities of cells.
Whoa, that's wild. So what's inside one of these cellular cities? Can we take a tour?
You bet. Let's start with the most important building, the nucleus.
All right, lead the way. I'm ready to see what makes it tick.
Think of it like City Hall. This is where the DNA hangs out, all organized into chromosomes. And the DNA, that's the blueprint for the whole city.
The blueprint for everything the cell needs to build.
Exactly. Genes, those are within the DNA, and they decide which proteins get made.
So nucleus is in charge. But where are the proteins actually built?
For that, we need to visit the ribosomes. They're like the factories churning out proteins based on those instructions from the DNA.
Busy little factories.
Nonstop. And they need supplies, right?
Raw materials.
Yep. That's where the endoplasmic reticulum comes in. It's like a huge network of Rhodes A&D factories combined.
The ER.
Short for endoplasmic reticulum. It's all about making stuff and transporting it around the cell.
Okay, so we got City Hall, factories, and roads. What else?
Well, those proteins, they need to be packaged and shipped to the right places. That's the Golgi complex's job.
The Golgi. Another organelle.
Yep. Think of it like the post office. Sorts, packs, ships. Keeps things organized.
Makes sense. But what about garbage? Every city makes trash.
Good point. Got to keep things clean. That's where lysosomes come in.
What do?
They're like the recycling centers. Break down old cell parts, even gobble up bacteria.
Whoa, tiny garbage disposals.
Pretty much. They use powerful enzymes to get the job done. And speaking of enzymes, there's this genetic disease, Tay-Sachs, where a lysosome is missing an enzyme.
I've heard of that. It's pretty serious, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. It shows what can happen when things go wrong at the cellular level. Even a tiny mistake can have big consequences.
It makes you appreciate how finely tuned everything is. But all this activity, it must take a lot of energy to run a cell. Where does that come from?
Excellent question. That brings us to the power plants of the cell. the mitochondria.
I heard of those.
They take food and convert it into energy the cell can use. It's like a cellular power station keeping the lights on.
And they have their own DNA. That's crazy.
Right. It's like each power plant has its own set of instructions. But, this whole city would fall apart without some support, right?
Good point. What holds it all together?
The cytoskeleton. It's like the city's infrastructure. Beams, cables, roads, gives the cell shape and helps things move around.
So it's more than just a container. It's actively involved.
Oh yeah, it's dynamic. And some of the proteins involved, they're also what make our muscles contract.
Whoa, same proteins doing double duty. That's efficient.
It's all connected, but we've been talking about the inside of the cell. What about the outside?
Is there anything out there beyond the city limits?
Well, most cells have a coat, a sugary layer that helps them recognize each other.
It's like an ID card.
Pretty much. And then there's stuff surrounding the cell. Plants have those rigid cell walls for support.
Ah, so that's why trees can grow so tall.
Exactly. And animal cells, they have this extracellular matrix which contains collagen.
Wait, collagen. Isn't that what keeps our skin looking young?
You got it. It's all connected. The cell, its surroundings, how they all work together to create life as we know it.
It's mind-blowing, really. Our bodies are made of trillions of these bustling little cities. And we're only scratching the surface.
There's always more to learn.
Definitely. We'll be back soon to delve even deeper into the amazing world of cells. Stay tuned.
Back again, ready for more cellular adventures.
Definitely. Before the break, we were talking about collagen and that extracellular matrix stuff. It's wild to think that even the spaces between cells are so important.
It's easy to forget about, but yeah, that extracellular matrix, it does way more than just fill space. It's like structural support, helps cells talk to each other, even guides how tissues develop.
So it's kind of like the mortar between bricks, holding everything together.
Perfect analogy. But you mentioned plant cells having walls, which seems like the same idea.
Yeah, are they different from the matrix stuff in animals?
Good question. Plant cell walls. Think of those like armor. Tough, rigid, mostly made of cellulose. That's what gives plants their shape and helps them handle all that environmental pressure.
Makes sense. That's how trees get so tall, leaves don't just wilt in the wind.
Exactly. Cell walls, they're mostly a plant thing, though bacteria have them too, but different.
Oh yeah, now that you mention it, I remember something about penicillin and bacteria.
Right. Penicillin messes with how bacteria build their cell walls, so they get weak and can't survive. It's all about understanding those differences between cells to target them.
That's fascinating. But how do scientists even study this stuff? It's all so tiny.
Well, we've got our trusty microscopes. Light microscopes, they're the classics. Use lenses to magnify things.
Like in high school bio.
Yep. But to see the really tiny details, gotta go high-tech.
Even stronger microscopes.
The electron microscopes. They use beams of electrons, not light, to illuminate things. That lets us see things thousands of times smaller.
Wow, electron beams. So what can we see with those that we can't with regular ones?
Oh, tons of stuff. The details of organelles, those tiny protein networks that give cells shape, even the surface of viruses.
It's like a whole new world opening up.
It really is. And there are different types, too. Some let us see thin slices of cells to look inside. Others create these cool 3D images of the surfaces.
Like having different lenses to explore this microscopic universe.
Exactly. And it's all thanks to these tools that we've learned so much about cells. But with all this complexity, sometimes things go wrong.
Right, like with those lysosomes and the missing enzyme.
Exactly. When cells malfunction, it can lead to all sorts of diseases. Cancer, Alzheimer's, the list goes on.
So it's not just about how cells work by themselves, but how they work together.
You got it. It's like a delicate ecosystem, one part out of whack, and the whole system can suffer.
Makes you realize how important it is for everything to work together smoothly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. Our source material gives a great overview, but there's so much more to explore.
Like what?
Cell signaling, how they communicate, cell division, how they reproduce. Even just the sheer variety of cell types in our bodies, it's incredible.
And what about stem cells?
Yeah.
I hear so much about their potential for medicine.
Yes, stem cells. That's one of the most exciting areas of research right now. They can turn into almost any type of cell, so imagine repairing damaged hearts or even growing new organs.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
It's definitely a frontier with a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And every discovery opens up even more possibilities.
It's truly amazing. This deep dive has really shown how much is happening at the microscopic level.
And it's all connected to who we are and how our bodies work.
We've just scratched the surface, though. There's so much more to discover.
Definitely. But for now, let's take a moment to appreciate just how complex and fascinating this microscopic world really is.
Welcome back. It's amazing, right? From single cells to whole organisms, it's all connected.
It really is. We started with these basic building blocks, and now we're seeing how it all comes together.
We talked about those lysosomes and how important they are.
Right, and how even a tiny problem there, like a missing enzyme, can cause serious issues.
It shows how delicate the balance is within a cell and within our bodies as a whole,
It's not just about individual cells doing their thing, it's about how they all work together.
like a giant, complex puzzle.
Exactly. And the more we zoom in, the more pieces we find.
This human anatomy textbook, it's been a great guide laying out the basics.
It really has. But even just scratching the surface makes you realize how much more there is to learn about cells.
We didn't even get to cell signaling, how they talk to each other, or cell division, how they make more of themselves.
So much to explore. And then there's the whole world of different cell types, each with its own job to do.
Plus, that stem cell stuff, the potential there is incredible.
Definitely one of the most exciting areas in research right now, being able to repair damage, maybe even grow new organs.
It's mind-blowing. But even without all that, just understanding the basic is pretty amazing.
It really puts things in perspective. Every single one of us is made of trillions of these tiny, intricate machines all working together.
It makes you appreciate the complexity of life, you know?
Absolutely. And it makes you realize that even though they're tiny, cells are pretty darn important.
Without them, we wouldn't be here, that's for sure.
Nope, not at all.
That's
And who knows what we'll discover next? Every new finding just opens up more possibilities.
the exciting part. There's always more to learn.
Always. So, to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And never underestimate the power of a tiny cell. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time.